The automatic doors of Terminal C slid open with a soft hiss, and Marcus Webb stepped into the controlled chaos of Gate 22. His leather briefcase swung gently at his side, polished shoes clicking against the tile floor. Around him, travelers rushed past with rolling suitcases, children clutched stuffed animals, and the intercom crackled with boarding announcements. Flight 447 to Chicago stood ready at the gate, its silver body gleaming under the fluorescent lights. Marcus adjusted his navy suit jacket and approached the boarding line, his ticket already pulled up on his phone. He had done this dozens of times before, but today felt different. Today, he was traveling without fanfare, without assistance, without anyone knowing who he really was. Just another passenger. Just another person trying to get home. The jet bridge stretched ahead like a tunnel, and Marcus made his way through, nodding politely to the gate agent who scanned his boarding pass. First class, seat RA. He had paid for it himself, using a personal credit card, wanting the full authentic experience. As he entered the aircraft, the smell of recycled air and cleaning solution greeted him. The cabin was pristine, seats arranged in neat rows, overhead bins waiting to be filled. A flight attendant stood near the galley, her blonde hair pulled back tight, her smile plastic and rehearsed. Her name tag read Dana Richter. Dana looked up as Marcus entered, and something flickered across her face. Her smile faltered for just a fraction of a second before returning, but Marcus caught it. He had seen that look before. That moment of surprise, of suspicion, of judgment. He kept walking, found his seat, and began to settle in, placing his briefcase in the overhead compartment with practiced ease. The leather seat welcomed him, and he exhaled slowly, pulling out his phone to switch it to airplane mode. From the corner of his eye, Marcus noticed Dana approaching. Her footsteps were quick, purposeful. She stopped directly beside his seat, her arms crossed over her chest. Marcus looked up, offering a polite smile. "Good afternoon," he said, his voice warm and friendly. Dana did not return the smile. Instead, her eyes narrowed, scanning him from head to toe. "Sir, I need to see your boarding pass," she said, her tone clipped and cold. There was no please, no courtesy. Just a demand. Marcus felt the familiar tightness in his chest, but he kept his expression neutral. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his phone, displaying the digital boarding pass clearly on the screen. "Right here," he said calmly. "Seat RA." Dana leaned in, squinting at the screen as if searching for evidence of forgery. She took longer than necessary, her lips pressed into a thin line. Other passengers were boarding now, squeezing past them in the narrow aisle, casting curious glances. Finally, Dana straightened up, but she did not move away. "This seat is reserved for premium passengers," she said, her voice louder now, attracting more attention. "Are you sure you are in the right class?" Marcus felt the eyes of other passengers on him. A woman in 3B paused mid-reach into the overhead bin. A businessman in EC looked up from his laptop. The air in the cabin suddenly felt thicker, heavier. Marcus kept his voice steady, refusing to let anger creep in. "Yes, I am certain," he said. "This is my seat. I purchased this ticket." Dana's face hardened. She glanced toward the back of the plane, toward economy, and then back at Marcus. "Sir, I think there has been a mistake. I am going to need you to move to your actual assigned seat in the back." A young man behind Marcus, phone already in hand, began recording. Marcus could hear the soft beep as the video started. He took a deep breath, his hands resting calmly on the armrests. "There is no mistake," he said, each word measured and clear. "This is my assigned seat. I have my boarding pass. I have shown it to you. I am not moving." Dana's nostrils flared. She turned toward the galley, raising her voice. "We have a situation here. Security, please." Her hand reached for the intercom button, but before she could press it, she turned back to Marcus, Her face flashed with anger. I do not know how you got that boarding pass, but you do not belong in first class. People like you always try to sneak into seats you did not pay for. The cabin went silent. The words hung in the air like poison. People like you. Marcus felt the sting of those words, felt them land like a punch to the gut. But he did not flinch. He had built a career on staying calm under pressure, on leading with dignity when others led with hate. I paid for this seat, he said quietly. I belong here as much as anyone else. Dana laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. Sure you did. Let me guess, you found that boarding pass, or maybe you bought it off someone. I have seen this before. I know exactly what is happening here. A security officer appeared at the entrance to the plane, his hand resting on his belt, his expression confused. What seems to be the problem? He asked, looking between Dana and Marcus. Dana pointed at Marcus, her finger shaking with rage. This man is refusing to leave first class. He is claiming he has a ticket, but I know he does not belong here. He is trying to scam his way into a better seat. The security officer approached slowly, his eyes on Marcus. Sir, can I see your identification and boarding pass? Marcus reached for his wallet, pulling out his driver's license and holding his phone up again. The officer examined both carefully, his brow furrowing. He looked at the boarding pass, then at the license, then back at Marcus. Everything looks legitimate, he said to Dana. This is his seat. Dana's face turned red. She stepped closer to Marcus, her voice rising to a shout. I do not care what that screen says. He does not belong here. Look at him. Does he look like someone who can afford first class? The cabin erupted in murmurs. Passengers pulled out their phones, recording, whispering. The businessman in EC stood up. Hey, leave the man alone, he said. He showed you his ticket. What more do you want? Dana spun toward the businessman. Stay out of this, she snapped. Then she turned back to Marcus, and before anyone could react, her hand flew through the air and connected with his face. The slap echoed through the cabin like a gunshot. Marcus's head jerked to the side, his cheek burning. The entire plane seemed to freeze. No one moved. No one breathed. Dana stood there, her hand still raised, her chest heaving. The security officer grabbed her arm, pulling her back. Ma'am, you need to come with me right now, he said, his voice urgent, but Dana was beyond reason. She yanked her arm free, pointing at Marcus again. He deserved it. He is a liar. He is a fraud. Get him off this plane. The cockpit door opened, and Captain Hayes stepped out, his face stern and confused. What in the world is going on out here? He demanded. His eyes swept the cabin, landing on Dana, then on the security officer, and finally on Marcus, still sitting calmly in his seat, his hand pressed gently to his reddening cheek. Captain Hayes took a step closer, and his expression changed. His eyes widened. His face went pale. Oh my God, he whispered. He looked at Dana, then back at Marcus. Mr. Webb. Dana froze. Her eyes darted between the captain and Marcus, confusion replacing her rage. What? Who? Captain Hayes moved quickly to Marcus's side, his voice filled with horror. Mr. Webb, I am so sorry. I had no idea you were on this flight. Are you all right? Marcus stood slowly, his tall frame unfolding with quiet authority. He looked at Captain Hayes, then at Dana, whose face had drained of all color. Captain Hayes, Marcus said, his voice calm but carrying weight. I am fine. But I think everyone here deserves an explanation. Dana's voice came out as a croak. Who are you? Captain Hayes turned to face the entire cabin, his voice loud and clear. Everyone, this is Marcus Webb. He is the chief executive officer of Skyward Airlines. He owns this airline. He owns this plane. And he was just assaulted by one of our employees. The cabin exploded. Gasps. Shouts. A woman in the back row stood up to see better. Phones pointed in every direction, capturing every moment. Dana stumbled backward, her hand covering her mouth, her eyes wide with terror. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no. That cannot be. You are." Marcus looked at her, and though his cheeks still burned, his eyes held no anger. Only sadness. "I am a black man who paid for a first-class ticket," he said. "I am a passenger on my own airline. I am a human being who deserves respect. And I am the person who will make sure this never happens to anyone else again." The security officer had Dana by the arm again, but Marcus held up his hand. "Wait," he said. He looked at Dana directly, his voice firm but not cruel. "You struck me because of the color of my skin. You assumed I was a criminal because of how I look. You humiliated me in front of all these people because you believed I did not deserve to be here." He paused, letting the words sink in. "You are fired. Effective immediately. You will be escorted off this aircraft, and the police will be waiting for you at the gate. What you did was not just wrong. It was assault. And there will be consequences." Dana began to cry, shaking her head. "Please, Mr. Webb, I am sorry. I did not know. I made a mistake. Please." Marcus's expression did not change. "You are not sorry you did it. You are sorry you got caught. You are sorry it was me. But what if it had been someone else? What if it had been a teacher, a doctor, a father just trying to get home to his family? Would their dignity matter less because they are not the CEO? Everyone on this plane, everyone who flies with us, deserves to be treated with respect. You showed me who you are. Now I am showing you the door." The security officer led Dana away, her sobs echoing down the jet bridge. The cabin remained silent, every eye on Marcus. He took a breath, looking around at all the faces watching him. "I want to thank those of you who spoke up," he said. "The gentleman in EC, the young man who recorded this, everyone who refused to stay silent. That is how change happens. Not just from people in power, but from everyday people who refuse to accept injustice." He straightened his jacket, his voice growing stronger. "I started flying incognito 6 months ago because I wanted to see what our passengers really experience. I wanted to know if we were living up to our values. Today, I learned we had a long way to go. But I promise you this. Starting tomorrow, every employee at Skyward Airlines will undergo mandatory anti-discrimination training. We will establish a zero-tolerance policy for racism, for bigotry, for hate of any kind. We will create a reporting system where passengers can share their experiences safely. And we will listen. We will learn. We will change." Applause began slowly, one person clapping, then another, until the entire cabin was filled with the sound. Marcus felt the sting in his eyes, but he blinked it away. He thought of his mother, who had experienced something similar 30 years ago, who had been thrown off a bus for sitting in the wrong seat. She had told him then to never let hate make him smaller. To stand tall. To fight back with dignity and truth. "This is not about revenge," Marcus said, his voice quieter now. "This is about making sure the next person who boards this plane, no matter what they look like, where they come from, or what they believe, feels safe. Feels welcome. Feels human." He looked around the cabin one last time. "That is the airline I want to build. That is the world I want to live in. And it starts right here, right now, with all of us." As the passengers settled back into their seats and the crew prepared for departure, Marcus sat back down into A. His cheeks still hurt, but his heart felt lighter. The plane began to taxi toward the runway, and through the window, Marcus watched the terminal fade into the distance. Somewhere out there, change was beginning. Somewhere out there, justice was taking flight.